Oh, what a year. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to my worst horror films of 2019 video. I do these every single year, like most movie reviewing channels do. And along with this video, keep your eyes peeled because I have a lot more coming this week. I have, obviously today, the worst horror films of 2019. Coming up after that is the best horror films of 2019. Then just overall films. I've got worst of 2019, most disappointing of 2019, a new one that I'm doing, most surprising of 2019, because I've had quite a few surprises this year that it actually merited its own video, and best of 2019. And then after I get done with those, like everybody else has been doing, I've decided to also do best of the decade. So I'm gonna do best films of the decade. I don't know how many yet because there's so many. I don't know if it's gonna be a top 20, a top 30, a top 15. I don't know, it's so hard. And I will be doing top best horror films of the decade. So please keep your eyes peeled for all of that. Hit that subscribe button if you're not already a subscriber so you don't miss any of it. But the reason we're all here today to talk about and reminisce on the biggest shit bomb horror films of 2019. And like every year, I need to preface this video by saying I do not watch every single film of the year, and I oftentimes avoid bad movies. So there is going to be some movies on this list that probably are not anywhere near your worst horror films of 2019 because you've probably seen worse films than I have. So keep that in mind. Feel free to throw down your suggestions in the comment below. Where's this movie? And I will tell you either I like that or I didn't see it. And I'm gonna give explanation for why some of these movies, because there's gonna be at least one or two of them that's gonna be pretty controversial on this list, why they have made my worst films or worst horror films of 2019. But kicking off this list, my number 5 on worst horror films that I've seen so far this year in 2019. Number 5, don't kill me, is Midsommar. Now hear me out. I understand a lot of people probably have this not only in their top, but maybe at the top of their list as best horror films of 2019. And by no means am I saying that this is a bad film. I actually think it's a very well-made film. I just did not enjoy it. And the reasons, you can have the whole review that I did if you want to check out every single reason, but the reasons for the most part is because I found the story very predictable. I thought it was very linear and very, it told everything that it was going to do. It was foreshadowed to the point that it was telegraphed. Like you have the little drawings that show all the things that are going to happen to all your main characters. I did like Florence Pugh as the main character, and she was one of the actresses that really kind of caught my attention this year with this and Fighting with My Family, which I enjoyed quite a bit. But every other character in this movie, I didn't really like, didn't really care for, didn't like her boyfriend. I know you're not supposed to at a certain point, but I didn't even like him before that. And it's a movie that had some good spots in it, but it was so long and so pretentious to the point where it just frustrated me. And it was one of those movies too, which I'm sure I'm gonna get even more of it now that I've put it at the bottom of the year, where people that liked it treat people that didn't see the same type of experience that they did like shit. Like you didn't get it, or you're just, you like those garbage horror films, and this is above you, this is more art house, and this is prestige, and what the fuck ever. It's a movie. We all experience it in our own way. I experienced Midsommar and did not enjoy my experience, so it's number 5. Number 4 is going to be The Curse of La Llorona. This is a movie that takes place in the Conjuring universe that they never advertised was a piece of the Conjuring universe, which baffles me. But it's a movie where it's innocent enough. It's not like it's a garbage film. It's not like it's the worst thing in the world. It's not the worst of the Conjuring universe films even, but it's a movie that by this point I'm just tired of seeing. It's the same type of film that we've seen over and over and over again in this universe where everybody's trying to direct and frame and pace and, orchestrate these movies as if they are James Wan, and they're just not James Wan. So it just feels like cheap copycats of Conjuring or Conjuring 2. The villain isn't overly interesting. The characters in this movie aren't overly interesting. The scares telegraphed a million miles away. You've seen these types of jump scares 1,000 times in horror and 2,000 times inside of the Conjuring universe. So it was a film that I was literally just monotone the entire time that I was watching it. I was flatlined. I had no emotion. I was just like, for 90 minutes, okay, that was Curse of La Llorona. Number 3 is a movie that barely anybody talked about, and I'm kind of glad that barely anybody talked about it because people were just like, no, we're not even acknowledging that shit this time. And that's the Gallows Act 2. This was a film, the first Gallows, I didn't think it was nearly as bad as people said that it was, because when you get like a very mediocre found footage movie, people like to act like it's the worst piece of trash they've ever seen. Certainly not good, but there was a couple of spots in it that I thought were genuinely creepy, especially towards the end. So I had enough interest to see if maybe they learned their lessons and was gonna make a better movie the second time around. Maybe this much. It's not a whole lot better. It's a movie that takes a totally different spin. It's where like the Gallows play has a bit of lore to it, and it has like this curse where, you know, if you try to do the play, supposedly you're gonna die, and you know, it abandons some of the found footage stuff for the most part. It goes much more straightforward. There's a couple of elements like that, which I much prefer. I'm not a found footage guy. And the only reason that I mildly enjoyed it by the end was that I thought that the twist at the end worked pretty well, and it made the movie cohesive. You know, it's not one of those twists that's thrown in and you're like, well, that makes zero fucking sense, this is a waste of time. It actually was kind of like, all right, that was mildly clever. But beyond that, it's exactly what you'd expect from this type of film. It's the same old type of jump scares. It's the cheap, you know, budget. You got a villain in whatever the fuck his name is with the hangman suit that's just not an intimidating villain whatsoever. And I think this franchise has now suffered a quick death because nobody watched this motherfucker. Now, at our top two, and this one is the one that's going to get me shot in the comment section. If you thought you were pissed off at Midsommar, this one's going to anger you, and I'm going to give reasons why. This is a movie that I had no interest in seeing. It's a movie that I did not really want to see in the theaters, so I didn't bother seeing it in the theaters, but towards the end of the year, when I'm on vacation from work, I like to kind of pick up a couple of movies that I avoided or maybe didn't want to see or just missed in the theater to try to flesh out more of my 2019, and so I can do better with these lists, and maybe I'll have a surprise, or maybe one will throw in there that I just absolutely hated. And this is one of those on the ladder, and that is The Lighthouse. Again, I know a lot of you love this movie. I know a lot of you probably have this in your best of the year, but for very similar reasons as Midsommar, I did not enjoy this movie at all, and I enjoyed it way less than Midsommar. I will rewatch Midsommar 5 times before I rewatch The Lighthouse ever. This is a movie that is very, very art house, very pretentious, which if you kind of tell, I'm not really a fan of pretentious movies. I tend to think they're a little bit snooty, and for the most part, most of them don't entertain me very much. That's just a me thing. The Lighthouse is an old school, classically styled black and white film. They even do the old classic square ratio, so you'd be watching on a widescreen TV, like a third of your TV is not even being fucking used. Quit being cute. And it essentially tells the story of Robert Pattinson and Willem Dafoe together in this lighthouse, on watch of this lighthouse for a few weeks, and they slowly start to go insane together. And while there's a lot of things you could do with that premise that could probably be very creepy and probably very interesting, you could certainly showcase the acting ability of these two actors, which this movie does. I will give it credit. These are great actors and they give great performances. This movie does such weird shit with that premise that I was not entertained or enjoyed a single piece of it. You have mermaid dream sequences. You have at least 2, which I'm hoping I might have dozed off through a third one. There's at least 2 Robert Pattinson masturbation scenes, one of which where he's holding a doll of a mermaid. He's like, why? You have like a cursed seagull thing going on. There's Lovecraftian imagery going on with Willem Dafoe. He goes up to the light naked for some reason. And it's just weird. It's just a fucking weird ass movie that did not come together at the end, and everything throughout it, the entire experience leading up to the end, I didn't enjoy, and the movie didn't have enough of a punch at the end or an answer or, you know, some kind of a twist or something to draw me in the final moments to make me at least be rewarded for the experience that I went through. It was nothing. It was a movie that I literally did not enjoy a single thing about it aside from respecting the performances. So, for my own subjective opinion, that's my second worst horror film of 2019. But number 1, which to be honest, I didn't expect this movie to be nearly as bad as it was, but my God, did they prove me wrong. Number 1 is Black Christmas. This movie is just garbage. It's absolute trash. It's been trashed online since it came out, and it deserves every bit of it. Yes, it's one of those movies that has this, you know, misogynistic Me Too movement kind of message, so you're gonna get people that say if you don't like it, then you're just a misogynist and you just want to keep women down and whatever the fuck, okay? If it was a good movie, you'd have a point. This movie is trash, and you do not want a message like that being defended in a trash-ass movie. And Black Christmas, worst, by far, horror film that I've seen this year. No scares, no interesting characters, not even a good character arc or a good journey to go on with your main character, which is played by an actress that I really, really enjoy, Imogen Poots. The story is basically given away in the trailer. Not that you couldn't piece it together in the first 20 minutes of the movie. Anyway, you have this twist involving this cursed blood inside of a bus that's fucking ridiculous. The message, we could talk about that. The movie is not one of those message movies that kind of cleverly, like with nuance, put this message into its storyline or its character arcs and kind of, you know, it surprises you. It's something that's underneath the surface bubbling and you kind of get hints of it here and there. No, this movie just bashes you over the face with a fucking sledgehammer from the opening frame about men suck, women are the best, fuck you. That's this movie over and over and over again. And they diluted it down to PG-13. So even if you go see a trash movie like this, just for the gore, just for the carnage candy, this movie has none. They have nothing. Every single kill is either a cutaway or zero blood whatsoever. Fuck you, Black Christmas. You're the worst horror film of 2019 by a landslide. Feliz Navidad, bitch. So that's it, guys. Those are my top 5 worst horror films of 2019. Do you agree? I'm sure all of you do not because of my 2 picks, but nonetheless, hopefully I at least explained myself well enough to where you don't absolutely despise my opinion on that. But even if you do, who cares? Put me down below in the comment section your top 5 worst horror films of 2019, maybe some reasons why, so I'm not just cycling through a bunch of lists. Those are a little bit boring, but give me your worst down below, why you hated them, and keep your eyes peeled for my top 10 or top 5 best horror films of 2019 coming up very soon. So please like and share this video. Hit that subscribe button if you're not already a subscriber. If you guys want to check out some of my social media links, check the video description below for Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and my Patreon page, which is a great way to give back to this channel and help this channel grow and get cool exclusive content for your eyes only if you decide to become a patron. You can also scroll down and check out my Teespring store, which has all of my merchandise designs created by Woody Bowen. Please check that out. There's a lot of cool shit down there. And if you guys want to check out some more of my content, you can please click right over here to check all that out.